My son, may you never stand in public spaces and boast that you have seduced another man's female companion under oath. It is a dishonorable thing to her father's house, and you for selecting behind a defiled man. It's not to disrespect the midnight ladies, but men who are married to women who are now behaving like midnight ladies need to hear this out. And of course, our women who know that they are working the late night, they need to be divided from these other women who are actually spoiling the game. You don't marry Ashawo if you married a woman who you used to go out drinking, just chopping life and nightclubs and all of that. I'll be honest, this is not the best person to take into your home as a life companion. It has its reasons why. I'm not going to elaborate. Just get the points and jot these down. This is wisdom from the shrine. You don't marry Ashawo if two or more of her aunties left their husbands' houses and are living in the woman's grandfather's compound. That's her father's or her mother's sisters. If there's two or more of them living in the woman's grandfather, that is the father of either the mother or the father's compound, they'd be living there with their kids. The main point is that they're not with their husband, marriage scatter. Then pay attention to the family background. That is the essence of this particular warning. Because if you don't pay attention to it, you'll run into a situation where you should have actually realized that this woman had already had examples from the aunties of how she would actually run the course of her marriage. And it's even a bigger red flag if you go and discover that the mother herself is not even in the husband's home. And that just lets you know what you need to be expecting. And it goes even further because we're looking at the background of the home foundation. This is what has always guided us. You don't marry a Ashawo if you visit her at her parents' house before you were married, and she lets you actually have intimate intercourse with her in her parents' house. Now, a lot of women are going to think that they have to give in fast to a guy. And no, see, your parents' home should be treated as a sanctimonious environment as far as your courtship and relationship with a man is concerned. But you have that as a warning. You don't marry a Ashawo if you are dating this woman and she freely gives into you in her parents' house. Now, number 4, you don't marry a Ashawo if you ever discover any romantic texting or chatting of your wife, because this is past tense, like I said. You don't marry a Ashawo. This woman is already in your house or you're in a very serious relationship with her. So you're getting the red flag. She's gaslighting you. She's lying to you. You could have been in this relationship for even up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years where you've been dealing with this. And you don't understand that this woman is loose in your home. As I'm saying, guys, you have to be paying attention to these things. If she's living in your home and her phone is always turned upside down, it means that there's someone who could call who she doesn't want the phone to be facing up, that you might see the number, start to note the frequency of the number or see the name and pay attention to it. So she turns it upside down and the ringer's off, which is the next thing you should notice because her phone ringer should be on. But she's turning it off now, or she picks it and makes up stories like, oh, the network is not passing and why she's not picking the call in front of you, only to mask these things. These are some of the things that men who have come to me for counseling have explained that are red flags that you need to pay attention to. So I'm advising you, this is the best way to not get yourself caught up with a woman who's running game on you. And that's essentially what it is. If you see a woman doing this to you, you need to just run. Find a way to close the relationship. Ghosting, blocking is the best way out. You should not be with a person who plays with you like this. And number 5, you don't marry a Ashawo if she tells you that she keeps contact with her exes. There are women who will tell you that, oh, when the relationship ended, we didn't end in such a way that we were enemies. See, don't even see. You can continue your discussion with her, act like you weren't phased. At the end of it, cut off, no contact, ghost. They will never change. Even if you tell her that you don't accept it and she acts like she's blocking people, no. These are matters of emotions, which, like we said, the original natural law made it such that a man was hopefully supposed to meet a woman who was a virgin and then commit to her for the rest of his days and her life. But now men and women, they don't practice this. So that imprinting emotionally is going to be in the men and the women that you have had relationships with from before. So when you now go and meet a woman now who will try to give this impression that her exes don't have an impression and influence over her, she's just lying to you. And like I said, the lies is already the first direction that you know that in the future you're going to be dealing with this, and it's going to be combative. So you don't want to deal with that at all. You don't want to deal with a woman in your house who is giving these Ashawo vibes, essentially. A woman who's loose, living free girl life, who flips money behind it and wants to live that type of a lifestyle. That's essentially what Ashawo is. Now let's break down number 6. You don't marry Ashawo if she is showcasing common goods on social media, but she plays and dances more than she actually does business presentations. Get it? Because now, like this, a lot of married women, a lot of girls who act like they are good girls are using social media, especially the TikTok, Instagram, any place that they can flash goods and act like they're doing business. But you see a lot more of them dancing in the videos, turning around, the Maya Dolce pose turned around with the backside pointed, only nyas nas, you see it. They even will do things where they'll dance in photos and videos. They won't wear their breastwear so that you can see through. They have subtle ways of communicating that they think that they're playing games and fooling people. People who have not been initiated to this whole cult they call adultery, which is the bane of going into a marriage, will not pay attention to these things. But if it's happened to you, or you are the side dude or side chick practicing it, then all of these things like that, you're very aware. And if you're the culprit, the person that loves to practice the deceit, of course you know that I'm just leaking your secrets behind this presentation of you don't marry Ashawo, because no man should have paid bride price for a woman who still continues to allow herself to be free with other men. Ashawoism, no. True. If you're a thief, let us call you a thief now. Don't be angry when we call you a thief, my sister. It's not that we're knocking your game or your hustle. It's just that, like I said, cards sur table. Let's put all the cards on the table. Because this final one, number 7, says it all. You don't marry Ashawo if she intentionally made herself a single mother. Because that's the trend right now. And I was speaking with one prophet the other day about this issue, that in the old traditions, we know that before Judeo-Christian tradition was brought to us, it was not socially acceptable that a woman should bring a child from a man into her father's home before the proper rites had been done. This right from foundation was an economic burden on the household of the parents if they were not some of these affluential families, prestigious and notable in the community. So the change that we are getting now in the social dynamics between men and women, in which men are still paying bride price for women, but women in Africa are adjusting the norms with which they will be courted. It's only logical, like I said, that we move along in this understanding now and present now rational ways for our men to be able to spot with a woman who is practicing that Ashawo vibe, that Ashawo culture, you see. Even when we say Ashawo, I think at times, Ashawo, they're saying, I'm sorry, that type of thing, a woman who has lost her way. But now that I'm trying to dignify it, just looking at the social dynamic of something that is happening, we need to really realize that there are free girls outside. The Ashawo is really the woman who her eyes are not satisfied. So she wants to now indulge in this free girl lifestyle, thinking that if she doesn't tie herself to a man, then she can now use as many men as possible to gain the same things that she naturally would have if she had evolved in union with a single man. She wants that freedom she thinks she's going to have, actually, of spreading herself out, maybe exposing herself to STDs, the unwanted pregnancies. If not the unwanted pregnancies, then the abortions and that whole structure and demeanor of breaking herself and adding more trauma to her life and then blaming these men for it. You see it, trying to pretend with these men as if they are actually the ones who are not serious, when she knows that she will not and cannot submit to a man unless he falls to some very outlandish terms and conditions which she herself does not even deserve because she's already scattered herself around. If the virgin is supposed to be the standard, not just because biologically there's contamination and imprint psychologically and things of this nature, but because the women too uphold it as a standard for themselves, to actually create a social hierarchy of those women which would be preferred to find themselves in union with the most available men. Of course, in the community would see that a woman who is pure would be more positioned to be with a man who is of stature, sustainable, and pure himself. Then we see that this is not a standard that is going to be shifted and thrown away. Our adjustment is about us acknowledging it and then giving people the proper awareness that if you're in situations like this, then you're being fooled and you're actually being tricked out of your bride price. These are the 7 reasons why a man who has paid bride price might realize that he's actually married in a Ashawo. And if you find yourself in this situation, my brother, then there's only one thing for you to do. Go to the courts and sign your termination and have your divorce certificate and move on so that you can find another woman, or I'll prefer to tell you, womans, who can help you build your empire. I hope you got the message. This thing is not complicated. If you go back to the way our ancestors had originally programmed this thing, and don't play with these women's logic, this free girl is Ashawo, and don't be listening to them. You see, this thing is simple. The mistake is when you start listening in the first place. So that's why I'm going to be out. If you're runs girls doing that free life, do that free life, and we give respect to you, those of you who are doing it with an open heart. But those of you who are claiming you're married women, and then playing Ashawo tricks, dressing up like Ashawo, doing nah. I hope everybody got the message.